Yeah, the TryPod app, shit, years in the making. They're raising the stakes straight, bringing home the bacon.
Yeah, g'day everyone. Welcome back to the TryPod Live with Winnie and Clarkey here for another breakdown of the postseason internationals. I'm in a new setting. Obviously, that's a little bit strange. And apart from that, Winnie, there's nothing else unusual about this episode, is there?
Apart from it looks like I'm wearing a GIMP mask, but I kept that one in the cupboard. This is my Halloween mask because it's Halloween tonight, and also it's appropriate to wear a balaclava when we've been robbing the bookies so far for the internationals, mate. I haven't given out a losing tip yet. We won the best bet again last week. You won your best bet. Mixed matchup won by 40-something points. We've won both mixed matchups so far. And your same game I got up as well, $6 odds. So it's been kind to us, the international season.
100%, man. It has been an awesome postseason for us so far. Just to quickly touch on last week for our viewers, last week we saw Fiji defeat Cook Islands 56 points to 6, Australia defeat the Kiwis 22 points to 10, and England defeated Samoa 34 points. And so, Winnie, I'll let you start there wherever you please. What did you think of the action last round?
Well, I really enjoyed Australia-New Zealand. I don't think I got the game totally right, although I won my best bet. I mean, I laid 11.5 with the Kangaroos. We win by half a point with a 12-point victory. Definitely a tighter game than I expected, so credit to New Zealand. However, when you get the Angus Crichton put down, that was diabolical. Have we seen a muff try like that for a number of years, you know? So you kind of feel like you lost 6 points there. So I'll say we still deserve that win. An intense game where I felt like the ref did not intervene much, which built a lot of fatigue in, which ultimately allowed Australia to break through for a try from midfield late in the game that we needed to cover. Australia's defence also led the way to victory. Awesome second half defence. New Zealand had a lot more of the ball. Only New Zealand try was really a brilliant solo move by Warbrick. And the mixed matchup won by 40 points. I can really briefly touch the other two games, but what did you take away from Australia and New Zealand?
Yeah, I mean, not to be funny with Angus Crichton, but if you guys remember, he actually does have one of his fingers amputated. So maybe that was literally the reason, because I agree with you. I've never seen a bomb try that bad. That was horrible. Look, I think we got largely what we expected from all three games. Fiji, we kind of knew they were a class ahead of the Cook Islands, particularly when you just look at their lineups and the players that are available. Kiwis, they were slightly rusty, which we also expected from the Kangaroos in their first preparation there. England, a little bit more settled than Samoa, as we thought they would be at home there in terms of preparation. So no real shocks or surprises for me, man, but still enjoying having some footy on and ready to rip into another week, mate. So let's start with the big one. We're talking Pacific
So I was just going to just confirm as well that, yeah, the mixed matchup one, because we both liked all the favourites, not just Australia. Well, tell us your same-game multi-legs again. That got up at 6.25.
I think it was...
You can look into your notes if you don't have it.
Yeah, I'd have to look into my notes, but I think it was like Tonga under 6.5 points in the first half, and then Kiwis to go in and win by double digits in the second half. So that wasn't an official play. That was my next best play, but it's always nice when they hit as well, right?
It was Australia to win both halves, but under 46.5. I think that's what it was. And
yeah, okay, maybe
we'll confirm that one. And it was $6.25. And the mixed matchup, we liked all three favourites. So Australia, Fiji, and England. They had to win by a combined 40. They won by a combined 80. And that's mostly because Fiji did win by 50. Showing again, a week is a long time in footy. A step down in grade helps hosting the Cookies. But you go from being upset by PNG to blowing Cook Islands out by 50. And then England, I think, was a correct lean for us too. Samoa was not disgraced in the 16-point loss. But if people didn't see the game, Samoa scored 2 of their 3 tries from intercepts. Now, the other try Samoa scored was probably the best of the weekend. But basically, Samoa couldn't contain England. And we will touch on the second and final test from that series as well.
Absolutely will, mate. Let's look forward to this week, and let's start with the Pacific Championship, the big one, which is Saturday night. We're in Auckland, where New Zealand are hosting Tonga. Line is set at -5.5 against New Zealand. One change for them. Leo Thompson he served his suspension, so he returns. Jordan Ricky drops out, and Swea Wong comes in for Tonga. Keon Koloamatangi is out, mate. Tough to get a true gauge on either of these sides winning because we've only seen one game from them each. But when you break this one down, where do you land in terms of a winner?
Where I land is I think we have all the makings of a beauty in this one. And I think back to when these sides met at the World Cup in 2017 in Hamilton. And if you saw that game, you would have sworn the Kiwis were the away side with the sea of red and white in the crowd. And that was a crazy game if people don't remember. So New Zealand was up comfortably, something like 16-2 at halftime. Tonga came out guns blazing second half, 4 straight tries, won that game. That didn't actually knock out New Zealand. New Zealand lost in the quarterfinal to Fiji after that as well. But that really put Tonga on the map. They've had a lot of great results since that World Cup too. If I want to look at the common opponent, they both played Australia, and most people will say New Zealand played the game tighter, but really, Tonga was probably as good and as close to Australia as New Zealand. It's just the scoreline was a little less favourable. Let's not forget, New Zealand got to play Australia at home. Tonga had to go to Suncorp to face the Kangaroos. And I think the fact that both these sides have been well tested and that a spot in the final is up for grabs, Australia will play the winner of this game at the final. Not to mention the loser is risking relegation. It's everything on the line, and really both teams in a cherry ripe for this, for this encounter. Because I always felt like teams would be a bit more rusty going into their first game of the championships, which is not the case this weekend. Now, I question New Zealand's ability a little bit with so many important players out, especially the middles. But to be fair, Crossland, tackled his heart out. The full white was massive, and Leo Thompson is now in the 17 as well, which I think is an important addition. So I just can't find much between these sides at all. Australia is the best in the world, but I saw both these teams really match intensity for long periods with the Kangaroos. Where's the edge? Maybe experience in the halves. Sean Johnson and home advantage counts for something. I understand New Zealand should be a favourite, but I would make them a short favourite. And again, Tonga's strength is their forwards and the depth. It keeps coming at you off the bench. So I think that Tonga's every chance to win this. They'll be well in the game. I think the line at 5.5, as you see on the screen, is too high. But in fact, you can even get 6.5. So I'll tell you right now, mate, that's going to be one of my best bets. Tonga plus 6.5 at $1.90 on Ladbrokes and Neds. Now, I have another best bet for this game, but I want to hear what you make of it first.
Yeah, when I break this one down, man, I've got kind of a key takeaway for both nations. First one, I'll start with New Zealand as my dog's licking me on the side. How are you, boy? I think New Zealand, they showed us last year, right? They can take a devastating loss and bounce back. They did that against Australia. They now will bounce back in an easier spot against someone like Tonga. And number two, now this one's really hard to say, and I think Tongan fans will be upset with me, but they've had their golden period. They're the only second-tier nation to beat Great Britain or England, Australia, and New Zealand. And I just feel like they've already hit their peak as a nation in terms of where they can get to currently with the current player pool they do have available. When I try to get a gauge on what's better in terms of such a short tournament in the Pacific Championships, is it better for Tonga, who get a week off to prepare again, or New Zealand, who get that familiarity just to roll straight into another week? I'm not sure. But when I break this down side to side, I do land on New Zealand having the stronger spine, but I do acknowledge that gap is not as wide as it's been in previous seasons. But I do see this one in similar fashion to the Tonga via Kangaroos test in the first round, where Tonga are able to control field possession and get their fair share of good opportunities thanks to their powerful spine. But ultimately, I think they will fall short in their execution. And I do think, like, New Zealand did defend relatively well for most of the game against Australia, despite conceding 20-plus points. So I expect this one to be close. And I think it's probably going to be another low scorer. We haven't seen a high-scoring game in the Pacific Championships yet. So my best bet for this one, Winnie, I'm actually going slightly different to you. I'm going to take New Zealand at the line of minus 5.5. I think they can win by more than a converted try. And I'm going to take Tonga under 22.5 points. I don't think they have 4 converted tries in them. So when you combine those two legs, you get $1.90 on Top Sport. It does seem low, Winnie, with 2 legs there. But realistically, if New Zealand are winning by 6, it's more likely the Tonga aren't going to be scoring.
Let me give a little advice, maybe slightly overrule that. I don't think you need to multi those, because I think you'll find New Zealand minus 5.5 is like $1.85.
It's $1.80, and I got $1.90 by adding in that other.
But elsewhere, you'll probably even find $1.90. You know what I mean? So you don't have to add that extra risk and make it a same gamer, although it's very likely that both legs hit. And look, we disagree on this, so we're going head to head. So maybe we can have a side bet and we can make the flat line 6, but we can both win because you said New Zealand by more than a converted try, but a converted try on the dot precisely would be fine. And I'm actually going to give a second best bet. Now, I'm 2-0 in the Pac Championships, but off a losing season of NRL. I just really like both these plays. Maybe you don't have to play them both because they are correlated. Maybe play one or the other if you can't get on both. I'm risking a winning record in the championships, but I just like both of these angles. So I think the line's too long on Tonga, though Clarkey does disagree and explains why. But other way to play it, maybe Clarkey would prefer this, would be either team 1-12, and that's $1.80 on 365, which is not a perfect play if you like the favorite, you think they'll win comfortably, but it's still maybe more palatable. You could probably envision that one a little more easily, Clarkey, and obviously then gives you that extra window, that avenue of kind of New Zealand 7-12 would still be a winner, and you probably don't see the Kiwis being rolled 13 plus at home.
Yeah, no, I think that's another great way to play this game. Like, I'm comfortable New Zealand will cover that line. I'll take them by a converted try. But if you're going to ask me to take the Kiwis 1-12 or 13 plus, I'd go with the 1-12. So I think that's a great way to play it because then you're also factoring in your bet, which is Tonga for the upset. So that's an awesome way to play it as well, mate.
So they'll both be best bets for mine. So I could go 0-2, could go 2-0, I could go 1-1. But I think that they're both like strong players. I'll endorse them both.
Love it, mate. Hopefully we can keep that bank rolling over for our listeners. Let's move over to the Pacific Bowl. That's Sunday afternoon in Port Moresby. Papua New Guinea hosts Cook Islands. Now, this line is set at minus 19.5 against PNG. This is the highest line we've seen this postseason. And it's really simple. PNG win here, Winnie, and they advance to the promotion relegation game. Cook Islands, I mean, they'd have to win by 70-something plus. It's that unlikely. So technically, there's still a chance. But I have to think you're with Papua New Guinea in this one.
And Fiji have like a small likelihood of getting through because if Cook Islands win, and it's not going to be by 70, then Fiji actually gets that spot. Is that correct? Or does Fiji still need a margin?
They still need a margin.
No, Fiji won by a big margin. So everybody would be 1-1, and Fiji gets through. So PNG needs to win. And look, PNG will win this one. I know it's pretty obvious. PNG smashed Fiji. And if people don't recall, I talked about that game was a lot wider than the final margin. PNG dominated. And then Fiji puts a 50 burger on the Cook Islands. So it's pretty logical, but I've got to say, PNG look really professional under Jason Demetrio, and I expect nothing less than a comprehensive PNG win. And, you know, when I was watching the Kumals play Fiji, it had me thinking, yeah, that's a good side. It may not take that much more talent to make that a really competitive NRL side. I don't have a lot on this game. I don't have a play on it, but I could only lean to the favourite.
And I agree with you. That Papua New Guinea side, what they lack for in star players, they make up for in continuity, just because this spine in particular has been together for so many years now. Look, we want to keep these breakdowns nice and short. I don't want to bore our listeners with any form of extensive breakdown, so I'll leave it at this. Papua New Guinea did what they did to Fiji. Fiji did what they did to Cook Islands. You arrive on this game and you kind of know how it's going to play out. Now, rugby league math doesn't always work, particularly in the NRL where we can have more volatile results. But I do think it's a safe measure, particularly in these emerging nations that are, still below the NRL level of this. So I see Papua New Guinea dominating. I can't see the Cook Islands troubling them at all. If I had to play the margin, I could only play Papua New Guinea. You couldn't convince me to take Cook Islands, even with a 20-point head start, mate. All right, we've got one more game to break down. We've got an international Sunday morning. We're in Leeds in England, and they are hosting Samoa. That line is set at minus 13.5 against England, and Samoa are down 0-1 in this series winning. So they can only draw from here, whereas England can still win. Who do you have winning this one and why?
And I've got to say, I feel like it is a tough trip and a tough spot. Like after a grueling NRL season, basically the whole Samoan team is NRL players. And you've got to go to the other side of the world and play twice in the space of 6 days, and you're missing all world players like Critter and To'o, but it goes deeper than that because it's a shame that there's no Lenu, Utokamanu, Falongo not available. You got to remember in the World Cup when Samoa made the final, Suali was awesome for them. We understand he's playing a different code. He is in Europe right now, but I don't think they're allowed to give him a game. And then England's a quality side. Like Harry Smith may not be better than Nathan Cleary, like his CEO suggests, but he's a quality player. Herbie Farnworth's so hard to handle. Wellesby is the guy at fullback to watch, and a guy I'd like to see get an opportunity in the NRL. So I just have to lean to the hosts getting up 13 plus again.
This England side has so much talent that would easily transition over to the NRL, in my point of view. Look, I'm predicting England win here and go 2-0. I look back to last year's series where they defeated Tonga 3-0 in that one, and they probably improved every single game. I think that's fair to say. What they did do as well, Winnie, was I thought they improved defensively every single game. And when you look at how Samoa scored their tries last round, I think that's an adjustment that England will be able to make again here. Going off that metric, I expect them to improve again against Samoa. And I just think for Samoa, like you said, it's a tough spot. Not only is it a tough spot, though, but it's not exactly motivating knowing you can only draw a series. So I don't think they're going to be coming out raring, fired up, ready to go to win a draw. For that reason, I go with England here. I think I would have them closer to a double-digit line to play it safe. But if I had to, I would play 13 plus in this line as well, mate. So I've got England 13 plus. Alrighty.
And for the mixed matchup, I've actually gone cross sport. You guys know I love my NFL. So where else are you going to get a rugby league NFL combined market? There is a big game Sunday night football in America, which is actually Monday, midday Aussie time for us. And I like Tonga. So I'm going to take Tonga's points on Saturday to be more than the Indianapolis Colts on Monday. So without going into great detail, I like Indy's opponent in the Vikings, who are coming off a couple of losses to high-scoring teams. I think the Vikings step up defensively and can defend whatever Tonga's total is that they've put on the board and give us a third straight mixed matchup victory. If you like that, it pays $250 on top of you. You can have up to $150 on, and our promo code is TP Live.
Great stuff as always, mate. Another great breakdown from yourself, and hopefully we can keep the hot streak going with the best bets and mixed matchups. Thank you very much for being here with us, guys, and we will see you next week to break down the Pacific Championship final and the Pacific Bowl promotion relegation game also. From myself, thank you very much, Winnie, and over to you to close the show.
Thanks to you as well, mate. I mean, you gave us 2 same gamers in week 1, and one of them won at 6.50. You gave us 1 same gamer last week, and you won at 6.25. And this week, well, we've actually tweaked your same game. It's just going to be a straight play, but you can still keep the hot streak alive with New Zealand. And the beauty would be if we could get that middle, kind of like last week, where the best bet won by only half a point, and there were plus 12.5s available on New Zealand. Thank you, and thanks to everyone that tuned in tonight. Enjoy your rugby league action this weekend, and Lego.